Yeah, yeah. Making her way to the mic. They start dimming the lights. You start feeling alright. From Birmingham, home of the Teddy Longs and the Ruben Studders. More once you discover. For all of the lovers of Whitney Houston and Roman Reigns. For all of the lovers of Mickey James and Marvin Gaye. For all of the lovers of Sasha Banks, Janelle Monáe, Silk, Sonic, and Paige. Allow me to say, look, I just found a place, sweet escape. Every one of us, I was kinda late, I just made it off the struggle bus. Walking by the fate, cause I know it's right in front of us. Yo, I ain't with the hate, gotta focus on what's great. Ladies and gentlemen, Steph Hardy is on the air. Had to drop a couple bars just to make you all aware. So, sit back, relax, enjoy the show. You know I go by Joe or the rest of the flow, yeah.
Hey y'all! Welcome to a brand new episode of the Hardy Wrestling Podcast with your girl Stephanie Hardy. I am so happy to be before you on this Sunday. Oh my gosh, so much has happened in the world of wrestling and also even in the world of sports. So I actually want to start off by saying something very important. I want to give my absolute love and congratulations to the New York Knicks for winning the NBA championship last in San Antonio, Texas, against the San Antonio Spurs. The game went, of course, to four. I mean, not four, but it went to 5 games. And this series was very competitive. It was really crazy. I've kind of been in and out when it comes to basketball myself because I am a Los Angeles Lakers fan. Shout out to them. And I have been since 2010. But whenever the finals happens, regardless to who makes it, I try to like watch it anyway because I just like the sport of it and fighting for a championship and seeing who ultimately comes out on top. And I love seeing the emotions of people actually accomplishing something that they've worked so hard for. So the idea that the New York Knicks got to win this championship after 53, I think it's 53 years, is one of the most amazing things that I've ever been proud to witness in my life. Like, I can't even believe, this happened because oh my God. I can't even believe this happened simply because, the Knicks had a rough go of it over these last couple of years, but their fan base tried their best to stay as faithful as you possibly can. And something that I've been enjoying the most is just watching the fans rally around them, cheer for them, scream for them, cry for them, lay in the street for them, and all of the things. And now all of that belief and all of that love has gotten them the first championship they've had since 1973. That is so nuts to me because even watching the game last night, like they showed all the things that did not exist yet, like the Rubik's Cube and the Post it note, all the things that did not exist in 1973. And then you think about how much time has passed since then and how far we've gotten since the last time the Knicks won. And now they are champions. And then I'm also really happy for them simply because I love New York because it's a city that I have been privileged enough to go to and have friends there. And of course, there was that one time where I went to New York 3 times in 1 year simply because of the family that I made in Battle Club Pro, as well as with Black Girl Magic and with Katrina for the first of her many women of color in wrestling panels that she would have at different conventions. So New York means a lot to me. Even though I know I'm from Alabama, but New York still means so much to me. I love it. It's a place that I had dreamed about going to since I was a child. So getting to go there a few years ago was really like a really huge dream come true. And then having friends there, who love me and support me, shout out to all of y'all. It's just the extra icing on the cake and the cherry on top that I never expected, but I'm so happy to have gotten. So I'm just so proud of the New York Knicks. I'm so happy for Jalen Brunson for defying the odds that a lot of people said, oh my God, like he's too small, he's too this, and he got in because he's a Nepo baby and all of that. But nope, he proved them wrong and led the team to the promised land. You have Cat, Carl Anthony Towns, who fought through insurmountable odds, including grief from the loss of multiple family members, including his mother, which I absolutely empathize with him with. I always did, but now I definitely personally do now. Fighting through all of those things, finding love with Jordan Woods, and all of the amazing things that have happened to him, in this point in his life, and now being a champion. So, and all of the other team members, Jose Alvarado and OG Ananobi, Mr. Hand of God, who gave them craziest comeback, who basically led the greatest comeback in all of NBA Finals history on game 4. Like, I low key felt like they could have just ended it at game 4 and just gave them the trophy right then because of how they won that game. But of course, they had to keep going. And that's exactly what they did. They won it in Texas. And of course, I know New York is going to be celebrating. They're having the Puerto Rican Day parade today. There's going to be an official Knicks parade on Thursday. And then you got Juneteenth coming up, Father's Day coming up. I can't even imagine all of the celebration that's going to happen. But I just wanted to come on here and first off say congratulations to them and how happy I am for them. Um, I'm just so thrilled because I just love rooting for the underdog. And it's like I told Katrina that there aren't many things that New York is the underdog in, but in this case, they really were. And it was just so good to see them rise up to the occasion and win. So big ups to them. I also want to give big ups to Danhausen because you could argue from a wrestling standpoint that he's a part of the reason why this has even happened. Because, oh my God, how is it that you go from cursing the New York Knicks on the part of Stephen A. Smith being a weirdo to you, and then uncursing them, and then boom, you become a star, you become a sports icon because through you uncursing them, they wind up going all the way to the championship and winning. That is so nuts. I'm so happy for Danhausen for becoming a new sports icon of sorts. Even WWEshop.com has acknowledged it. They gave him a Champhausen t-shirt with the Knicks colors and everything, and I'm pretty sure it's going to sell out soon. But I am just so thrilled to see him, being brought into the swing of things with ESPN and how they're even going into it. Because, of course, WWE and ESPN have that streaming deal, and you see the wrestling superstars on the show more often than not. But it's just really cool to just see how speaking things into existence, can have amazing results. And through him uncursing them, they have this amazing moment. So big ups to Danhausen. It's just so interesting how he went from having a debut that a lot of people balked at because they wanted it ultimately to be somebody else, and they didn't understand the hype of Danhausen because they might not have been exposed to him elsewhere or whatnot. But now he's grown on the crowd in wrestling, grown on ESPN, and now become a sports icon. Like, that's just the most amazing thing ever. So big ups to Danhausen for being a part of all of this craziness that's going on with the New York Knicks and them winning and being a part of it, because that's just incredible. And also shout out to Christine. I love her as a sports host on ESPN. The moments where I do watch it, I just love watching women broadcasting in sports. Is just one of my favorite things. So anytime I see her or Monica McNutt or anyone else that's a female or woman of color, I just feel happy about it. So big ups to her for being in the midst of that. And also, I want to give big ups to Spike Lee, who who's been one of the most faithful Knicks fans in all of life. He's also one of the most famous Knicks fans, as you can possibly imagine, because he has been photographed at many a Knicks games since he's become a notable director and everything, and being proudly from New York. And also highlighting New York in a lot of his movies, like Crooklyn and like and Do the Right Thing and so many other films. So the idea of him being such a faithful Knicks fan and then and then actually flying to San Antonio to watch the game last night and watch them win, which is one of the most beautiful things on the planet. And then Giancarlo Esposito, a frequent collaborator and actor that he has worked with multiple times, was there, as well as John Turturro was there as well. It was just very, very beautiful to see all of those people artistically and collectively together to enjoy this moment. It was just so beautiful. So big ups to Spike Lee. I can't wait to see what documentary you'll possibly make about this moment. That is, if you are, because I know Ben Stiller said he was, but I don't know, who else is going to be doing that. But either way, I'm looking forward to all of the art pieces and documentaries and movies that's going to be made about this historic moment because it's not that often that you get to see amazing stuff like that in either in person or on TV or whatever. But when you do, it sticks with you and you remember where you were when it happened. And when game 4 happened, I know I can say that I was in my living room watching that game coalesce the way that it did, and it was like watching a miracle take place. It really was. It was like watching God construct a miracle in front of your face, and then boom, you watch the execution. That's really what it felt like. This all just feels like a miracle. And also shout out to Mayor Mamdani. I know you're not my mayor, but I love you from Alabama, and I would have loved it if he could run for president, but he can't. But either way, him being the mayor is just unlocking a lot of positive things for the city of New York, and I'm just so happy for them and so happy for the team and just happy for everyone. It's just really great. Um Now, if my Lakers could just get themselves together, maybe I can feel that some of that happiness too. But either way, big ups to them and New York for having this amazing moment. I will always love New York, and hopefully at some point I can go come back and buy more cups and shirts and everything else and see everyone and see all my friends there. Shout out to Krista B. Shout out to Patricia, Queen PR of those wrestling girls. Shout out to the Jobber Tears podcast, Janelle, Sir Wilkins, and Mr. Black. Shout out to Dre, and shout out to Kofi Wheatston and everybody else up there. I love y'all so much. And yeah, y'all deserve this. Celebrate until your heart's content. But don't stomp everything to the ground. But just, just celebrate to your heart's content, for real. Now, moving into more serious news in terms of wrestling. Um, I did want to talk about something that did disturb me online, which has been sort of a common theme this week when it comes to women in wrestling and their bodies. Ringside News, which has been known as I guess you could say, a somewhat reputable dirt sheet when it comes to wrestling, to a degree, but then not really anymore, got caught up in some mess when they decided to post something very disgusting about Paige. It was obscene, and it was interesting because it came at the expense of Zaria licking the NXT Women's North American title following her winning it this past Tuesday. And the post was obscene, and it took shots at Paige, who had previously been a victim of a privacy breach. But then, of course, they deleted it, but it used an image of Paige that was leaked without her consent. But the fans, of course, stood on business and defended Paige, saying, basically telling them this is not okay. Y'all need to, stop making posts like this. And even Paige herself on her Twitter said, IWC having my back, love you guys for it. And so, in response to that, Ringside News took down the tweet, but then they didn't seem to apologize for it. And then they proceeded to attack Steve Carrier, the owner of RSN, who had been previously arrested on charges of battery and DUI. And then fans kept resharing the mugshot and everything else, and it just caused a whole lot of uproar at people, throwing shade at him and calling him basically, a scumbag for what he did and for what he does and all of the above. And Paige really appreciated it. And I'm going to say this and mention this later when I talk about what I liked in wrestling this week. But when it comes to women in wrestling, it broke my heart to hear all of which all of the things that Paige mentally and emotionally went through when it came to that leak happening in terms of like her private moments and what she had going on. Like it broke my heart to hear that at one point she actually thought about ending her life based off of that leak because of all the insults that were happening from it and how she bore the brunt of it. And I feel like something that isn't discussed enough is the fact that whenever things like that happen, the men don't really bear that much of the insults as much as women do because we live in a society that openly critiques and bashes women for being sexual beings, but then it's like they'll praise men for it. And because of that notion, it's like things that happened to Paige where people online were insulting her and making it seem like she was less of a wrestler or wasn't that good and just all of that just really broke my heart because Paige is literally was one of my favorites back in the day. And the idea that she had to go through that and be as young as she was too, because a lot of people forget when she had stardom in WWE, like she was in her like late teens to early 20s. So the idea of her having to go through all of that while also being away from home, you know, because she's in the United States, but she's from England, you know, was just too much for her to deal with. But I'm so glad that she came out on the other side and rose above and continued to make waves as a wrestling personality after she got hurt and then came back to wrestle again and overcome that injury and overcome the negativity in order to be who we know her to be now. So I'm really glad that she rose above it, and I'm glad that the fans, you know, came to her defense when it came to the trash that Ringside News does. Like, for the life of me, I don't understand how men in the IWC just act like women are only meant to just be objects to be picked apart um and women and like women just aren't human beings and just are meant to be like, oh well, you know, they deserve this and oh well, they did that. And no, it's almost as if you would think that men in the IWC have never been in contact with a woman in their life or have never sought to talk to a woman as a human being before. And it's very telling when they write stuff online that's just very harmful and very hurtful. So I'm sending all the love to Paige, sending all of the healing to her. And I hope, and I also pray for healing for all those people who suffered at the hands of that man who owns Ringside News. Um, because abusing people and abusing women is not okay. Um, and abusing women online is not okay either. And women can do whatever it is they want to with their bodies. It's our body, our choice, and we shouldn't be shamed for it. So, yeah, that's just how I felt about that situation. Now, moving forward in news and gossipish, I wish I had Bianca here with me. Um, to talk about this because this is her fave, who she actually recently met at an autism event in California. But CM Punk is set to make his big return pretty soon because, of course, we haven't seen him since after WrestleMania when he lost the World Heavyweight Championship to Roman Reigns. Um, and then he had that interaction with Cody Rhodes, and we hadn't seen him or AJ Lee, his wife, since then. So there was a lot of speculation surrounding, you know, if he was going to come back anytime soon, if he was unhappy with creative, and if he was going to be leaving again. And it's very easy to sort of jump to those conclusions when, you know, he had left and been off of TV for a long period of time. And then later on, you find out it was because he was unhappy with something. But it was reported that there really is no rift between him and WWE. It was announced by the wrestling, well, not announced, but it was reported by the Wrestling Observer newsletter that Punk is expected to join SmackDown once he comes back in order to balance out the company rosters. Because with Raw having people like Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins, Liv Morgan, and Oba Femi, the belief is that CM Punk would be a better addition to SmackDown, where he would be amongst talent like Cody Rhodes, Gunther, and Randy Orton. And the newsletter argued that Punk could still return to Raw before joining SmackDown, as the upcoming July 6th episode of Raw would take place, in Chicago. But of course, he did, like I mentioned earlier, he had an interaction with Cody Rhodes, sort of teasing the idea that If a championship opportunity fell in his lap, he would absolutely take it. But he was staring at Cody's belt when he said it. So, for all we know right now, he could be, planning and plotting and just deciding to try to wreak havoc at some point. So, yeah, CM Punk could be on his way back. But then they also announced that he will be at Fanatics Fest next month, along with Roman Reigns being announced for Fanatics Fest as well. But of course, with all the events of yesterday, Fanatics Fest might turn into Knicks Fest. Who knows? But either way, CM Punk seems to be okay and in a good place with the company. And it doesn't seem like he's leaving. He's just sort of taking a break. So that's okay. I do miss my Philip. I miss him. I miss AJ. So hopefully at some point we will see them again and they'll wreak havoc on our lives and we'll love every bit of it. So yeah. Also, this hurts a bit to talk about, but Money in the Bank in New Orleans got pushed back down to October the 10th when it was supposed to take place on September, like in September, I believe it was September the 6th, Sunday, September the 6th, it was supposed to take place. And the reason why it hurts to talk about is because that was originally scheduled on my birthday weekend. And my whole plan was to go to New Orleans and enjoy the wrestling stuff and enjoy the city of New Orleans and just have fun for my 33rd birthday. WWE said, hold my beer, and decided to move Money in the Bank down to October the 10th because they didn't want to compete with college football because college football is starting that weekend in September. And when I tell you I have never been so upset at college football in my life, I was so upset. I was just like, so what am I gonna do? I don't know. I'm still figuring it out because I really wanted to celebrate my 33rd birthday, in a big way. And being surrounded by wrestling would have been like the perfect thing. But, plans change, dates change. They're not obligated to keep things on my birthday weekend to keep me happy. They're not, I know that it's business, but, dang. But either way, I just wanted to come on here and talk about it because it made me sad. But, Money in the Bank is still one of my favorite pay per views. It also holds a special place in my heart because that was the first time the Hardy Wrestling Podcast got to do a media junket in Canada. So I'm going to still, love it and be there for the things. But them moving it just really just stung. It really did. And then they announced that on that weekend, instead, there will be a Sunday night's main event in Atlanta on that Sunday, which is interesting because on that Monday, that next Monday afterward, they will have Raw in Birmingham, my hometown. So they'll be coming right next door after that Sunday night's main event. So I guess they just decided, hey, let's just have this in Atlanta to sort of just, to what's the word? What's the phrase I'm looking for? To soften the blow of losing Money in the Bank that weekend, they put Sunday night's main event there. And then a lot of fans were saying, well, if they're going to have Sunday night's main event in Atlanta, then why don't they put Evolution 3 there? Because people are still looking for that Evolution pay per view to pop up after how amazingly it went last year. So I don't know. I don't know. I would love for there to be another Evolution this year. But if not, and if they decided to have it next year, I would be okay with that as well because I honestly feel that Evolution is something that should happen on a more frequent basis. Don't make us wait another 8 years for it. Like please have it. Like if even if you're not gonna have it every year, like on an annual basis, have it like every 2 years or something like that. So yeah, they're moving things around in the schedule, but we have to roll with the punches to get to what's real. Now, mind you, a weekend in Atlanta for my birthday wouldn't be too bad because there's still a lot of stuff there and I have family there. Shout out to them. But we'll figure it out. So yeah. And lastly, in news and gossipish, I wanted to talk about how happy I've been to see John Cena in these commercials. He's been in Chime commercials and everything, but the one that warmed my heart the most was when he was featured in a Nature's Own commercial. telling people to breaducate themselves because now he's been cast as the breaducator. And Nature's Own is actually a brand that I've been um, partaking in since I was really little. My grandma bought Nature's Own. My dad still buys Nature's Own. So the idea of seeing John Cena attached to a brand that I've been so familiar with, is just really, really heartwarming. And then there's the commercial of him, in the store talking about all the ingredients in the bread to this family, and it's just so sweet. And in my head, I'm just like, bro, wouldn't it be cool if you were in like a bread store and then he just pops up and starts talking to you? Like that would be like a core memory for me, because I loved going to the bread store down here with my big mama and with my mama at times too. Like, I loved the bread store because it was not really like a grocery store. It was kind of like a smaller store that sold treats and baked goods and bread. And depending on where you are, of course, I don't know if you guys ever had a bread store, but we did. And it was just, we had two bread stores, if I'm remembering correctly. And I loved, loved, loved going in them. So bread stores are just really like a core memory in my head. And seeing John Cena holding that bread just made me feel really warm inside. I was just like, oh my God, John. Look at you at the bread store. But I enjoy seeing John Cena in all these other places because I just miss him so much in wrestling, but I still love the idea that we still have him with us, just in different ways. He's also been making appearances at different conventions or whatnot. And he's somebody that I would love to meet at some point, but we'll see however that manifests itself in the universe. But big ups to John Cena for getting all these brand deals and being featured in these commercials. And I'll always miss you in the ring, but it's for the best, and I just hope he's happy with whatever it is that he's doing. Oh my God. So now we're going to move into, if my technology acts right, what I liked in wrestling this week. And it was a lot of stuff. Um, so when it comes to Raw was in Paris. Um, Technology, act right. Raw was in Paris. And when it comes to the women, something that I have been enjoying a lot is the women's action when it comes to the Queen of the Ring tournament. I've been enjoying the women's matches more than I've been enjoying the men's matches, if I'm being completely honest. And the match between Alexa Bliss, Liv Morgan, Becky Lynch, and Chelsea Green was really good. I love the athleticism there, especially as you're watching on the screen. If you're watching it live right now, thank you. You see Alexa Bliss leaping and splashing into Liv and Chelsea Green. The athleticism was top tier um, in this match, but ultimately, Liv Morgan would wind up winning and moving forward in the tournament, even though I know a lot of people, including myself, are weirded out by the idea that she's in it, considering whoever wins the tournament could very well choose her to face. But whatever, she moved forward in the tournament. And also, it was her birthday that day. So because it was her birthday, she also had fans create, I thought I had a picture of that. I guess I don't. She had fans create like a banner for her that said happy birthday Liv. So that was really cool that you got to win a match in a totally different country on your birthday. Like, not that many people can say that. So big ups to Liv for that, but I don't want her to be Queen of the Ring. I do not want her to win Queen of the Ring because she honestly just does not need it. She's already the women's world champion. And there's a part of me that also feels that they did this because of the absence of her biggest rival up to this point, which was Stephanie HWP, who they say might be out for injury. I'm not entirely sure, but I hope whatever's going on with my girl Stephanie, she's okay. But Liv is moving forward in the tournament, and in the midst of it, you have not Raquel, but Roxanne Perez having a backstage segment with her after she won, and coming up to her and apologizing, saying that I should have thought about the bigger picture, like you said, and just focused on like the Judgment Day winning. And so I'm actually happy that you're moving forward in the tournament, even though I didn't get to win. And another theme of this episode that you'll probably hear me say later on is, why in the world do I have to apologize for wanting better for myself? And why do I have to apologize for my excellence and being great? And watching Roxanne apologize to Liv, who's essentially the de facto leader of this group now, really irritated me, because my thing is, if you're going to be a leader, you have to want everybody to succeed. You can't just hog all the success for yourself. So the idea of Roxanne apologizing to her for getting heated about getting out of the tournament really bummed me out. I was just like, girl, don't apologize for that. Do not apologize for that. But of course, I'm pretty sure, there's something more inkling under the surface when it comes to that, because even though Liv is in the tournament, you also have Raquel Rodriguez, who is still in the Queen of the Ring tournament. So, it's going to be some very interesting stuff that's going to coalesce pretty soon. So, yeah. Another thing that I liked about Raw from the women was the women's Intercontinental Championship match between Lyra Valkyria and Sol Ruka. It was really good to see Lyra Val be a solo wrestler again, because a lot of the bulk of what we've seen her in this year has been tag team stuff. So to see her be in a singles match for a title that she was the first winner of, because I feel like that gets lost in translation. She was the first women's intercontinental champion. And to see her, qualify to get this opportunity was really good. And their match was spectacular, and it was very athletic and heated and full of passion. But in the end, Sol Ruka wound up retaining the title, and I'm happy about that. But it was really good to see Lyra get that opportunity and actually get out from under, Bailey a little bit. Now, I would also love it if Bailey challenged Soul again, because those two actually had a great match at Saturday night's main event last year, which held John Cena's final match. So if they fought each other again for that, I would actually be okay with that too. But yeah, if you had not watched Sol Ruka versus Lyra Valkyria, I suggest you go back on Netflix and do it, because it was really good stuff. It was really good stuff. It was NXT caliber stuff. So yeah, love that for sure. Now, when it comes to the men on Raw, even though there were parts of Raw I was able to see, and not really fully see because this was on during the afternoon and I was at work, um, I was happy to see that Javon Evans is moving forward in the King of the Ring tournament, because he has been making such a huge splash on everybody with all of his athleticism and his personality and everything since he's been called up to the main roster. And I just want to see him actually win something, because he's been in line for the Intercontinental Championship and he's lost and everything. He lost at WrestleMania and all the above. He never won the NXT Championship. So if Javon Evans were to go on and win the King of the Ring tournament, I would be very thrilled about that, because he is one of the drum majors of the new age. And, he might not be big and imposing like Obafemi, and might not have all the boom flash of Trick Williams, but he has a lot of heart and he has ability out the wazoo, and he's still so very young. So if he were to win King of the Ring, I would be absolutely thrilled about it. So seeing him move forward in the tournament made me feel really good inside. I was like, yes, Javon, let's go. Now, in speaking of Obafemi, I love the way that the camera actually saw his shadow in the spotlight when he came out. I was just like, oh my god, that is just aura out of the wazoo. Because what do you mean your shadow has been cast over the spotlight and now it's in the crowd? And then the crowd was going crazy for him and everything, and I was just like, oh my god, Opa. Oh god, it's so great. Oh, I love him so much. And so, in the midst of him coming out in his club clothes, like my dad loves to say, my dad loves to say that. He was like, uh oh, he out here in his club clothes. Mind you, he'll still get to fighting and everything. Dirty Dominic, the AAA Mega Champion, decides to come out and talk trash at Oba. And then Oba responds to him. And then not only does he come out there and talk trash to Oba, JD McDonough comes out and tries to sneak him from behind. But of course, Obafemi makes quick work of the both of them, tosses them around and everything. And then Oba gets the microphone and says, I know that Rey Mysterio is your father. But then Dominic is like, he's not my dad. He's not my dad. He sounded like that one meme. He was like, you're not my dad. Leave me alone. It was so funny. Um, but then Oba was like, I know that Rey Mysterio is your father, but next week I will introduce you to your daddy. And I was like, yes! I love Obafemi. Every time he speaks, it just brings authority into the room every time he speaks and threatens people. I just love it. Give me more of Obafemi. Now, mind you, as I know what I just said about Javon Evans winning King of the Ring, but if Oba wins it, then that would be really cool too, because him having a chance at Roman Reigns would feed families, number one. But then you also have him possibly going up against Cody Rhodes, and that would feed families as well. So, oh my God. So, Dirty Dominic, I feel like tomorrow when he faces Oba in the tournament, he's going to have to do some pretty underhanded things in order to keep Oba from moving forward to the finals. And then you also have the notion of Pumpkinhead trying to ruin the opportunity for him too, and that makes me kind of sad to think about. But in the end, I just hope that Oba has a shining moment, and if he does become King of the Ring, that would be cool too. But I just don't. I also just don't want Dirty Dom to win. I don't want Dirty Dom and Liv Morgan to win King and Queen of the Ring, because they'll be obnoxious about it the whole time, and I'll just get irritated and just want to just turn the TV off. But whatever. That's just how I feel. But this whole segment was hilarious, and introduce him to his daddy. Yeah. Come on over. Excuse me, y'all. And another part of the episode of Raw that I loved when it came to the men was Penta versus Rey Mysterio. Now, historically, they have already fought before outside of the confines of WWE in the 2000s. But I will also say that from a personal perspective, watching these two luchadors stand face to face with each other at the Royal Rumble last year in Indianapolis as number one and number two, like it shook me in a way that I had not been shaken since Rey Mysterio fought Eddie Guerrero that last time at WrestleMania 21. Like when they faced off against each other, I was like, "Oh my god, it's them." Like they're 1 and 2, like are you serious? And even though it was only going to last for just a little while because of the nature of the Royal Rumble, it was just really good to see them go face to face like this. So, this match was fantastic. I wish it had gone off without any shenanigans from Rusev and everybody else. And I know that Chad Gable had a moment within this, match and segment as well. But before all of that happened, this was a very stellar match from two of the greatest in lucha wrestling, period. Rey Mysterio is someone who I'll never get tired of watching wrestling. And it's a beautiful miracle that he is able to move the way that he does at his age. And it just goes to show you age doesn't really hold you back in a lot of areas like people think it does. And Ray out here, he's had surgeries and all the above, but this man still moves like he did when I first saw him in WWE. And even when you go back and watch the tapes for him in WCW, like Ray is that guy. Like there's a reason why he's the king and he's respected the way that he is, because he's just that dude. But Penta is also definitely the future of lucha as well as his brother Ray Phoenix too. But I'll get to him later. So yeah, this match was fantastic, and I want to see them actually have a match where there aren't any shenanigans, because top to bottom it should be good. So yeah. Now moving into what I liked from the women of NXT. Kelani Jordan versus Kendal Grey for the number one contendership for the NXT Women's Championship was absolutely fantastic. In comparison to their first match that they had a couple weeks back, I would say that this one was a little bit. This one was. I feel like I liked this one better. because you saw a lot more from Kelani where she was trying to prove more of herself, and there was a hunger there and an aggression there that we might not have truly seen a lot of in the first go round. And I am so happy that we got to see that highlighted here, and I would have loved it a lot more if she won the opportunity and not Kendal Grey. Though I do understand that every time they have fought, Kalani had won, and it was about time that Kendall got one on her. I still wanted Kelani Jordan to win that opportunity to become the NXT Women's Champion, because I have said multiple times that it makes no sense for NXT's last black female NXT Women's Champion to have been Athena. It doesn't make sense. Slash Ember Moon. That doesn't make sense. And the idea that they've had so many talented black women roll through there, like Bianca Belair, like Lash Legend, like Mara Sade, and so many others, and even Sol Ruka not being NXT Women's Champion, it's just absolutely nuts to me. So the idea of Kendall getting that chance again, mind you, she might not win because Lola has like a stranglehold on that thing. It's just the idea of seeing yet another person get an opportunity over Kalani when she has worked hard to prove that she can do both characters. She can be a face, she can be a heel, she can be vicious. And she's shown that athletically she is very sound and can adapt to anybody in the ring. I don't understand what is the deal. And she deserves 50% of the props, just like Kendall deserves 50% of the props for how good that match was. And if somebody wants to go on their podcast and talk trash about how they feel like Kalani doesn't have this and that and this and that, then you're wrong. Just because you have a microphone doesn't make you right all the time, okay? And just because you might be a veteran doesn't make you right all the time. And in the case of Kelani Jordan, y'all got her effed up. She deserves the opportunity, and she is still very much that girl in ring. She is her. And I'm not just saying that because of who she's engaged to. She really is her. And y'all need to stop playing in that girl's face, or otherwise she gonna do something real dangerous and start snapping on people for real, for real. And honestly, I just feel like she deserves to be the next NXT Women's Champion. I understand that Kendall Grey is really good for how young she is, and her trajectory is moving really fast because she's basically like the female answer to Kurt Angle at this point. But let's not overlook Kelani Jordan, because y'all made that mistake before, and she actually wound up becoming the NXT Women's North American Champion, the first one. So let's not overlook her over and over again just because, you have this bright new shiny toy here. Let's not do that. Kendall Grey is good, but let's not pretend that she is head and shoulders above Kalani. Let's not do that, okay? Like, that's getting on my nerves. Respect black women in wrestling. So yeah. Kendall won, and now she gets to face Lola Vice for the NXT Women's title at the Great American Bash that's coming up. So yeah, she won, but it should have been Kelani Jordan, and I will down that hill. And speaking of hills, and speaking of crazy stuff going on with black women in wrestling, Jada Parker, Miss Ma'am, decided to respond to Natty calling her soft by attacking her from behind at the dungeon and then getting in her car and talking about it. And after being pulled apart by all of the trainees and everything. And this only made me feel that what Natty said to her really got to her. Because, of course, we've been so used to seeing her have all of this attitude and talking all of this trash and everything, and backing it up sometimes, but not backing it up all the time. But at the same time, you have Natty, who is an icon in the women's wrestling business, coming up to you and telling you, look, I see all this bravado and I've seen it all before, and you're actually soft on the inside. And then you react by not saying, maybe you're right or can you help me improve. You respond by attacking her from behind. I feel like that's ultimately just proving Natty's point. Jada, come on. Like, let's do better. Um, And now, of course, they're fighting next week on NXT, and I'm looking forward to that. But I really feel like that's really where the rubber is going to meet the road, and we're going to see really what Jada is made of, because you do not make it in women's wrestling unless you've crossed the bar of Natalya Neidhart. And if she can't cross that bar, then we really going to have some discussions. But yeah, that's all I have to say about that. And of course, we have to send a congratulations to Zaria for finally becoming a champion in NXT by winning the NXT Women's North American Championship off of Tater Tot Tatum Paxley. Oh my God. It low key looked like this might have been Tatum Paxley's last NXT match, because they did say that after the episode aired, she went to the audience and started hugging people and everything. So she might be getting a call up soon. And I think that's great because she had been in NXT for a while. So that's great for her. But I was happy to see Zaria win this because of the back and forth that she was having about that title with Sol Ruka, and how they remained friends, even though deep down inside she felt like she was underneath Sol Ruka's shadow and angry at her for getting all the opportunities. Because here again, why did Sol have to apologize for being great and you weren't stepping up? Like I just hate that. But either way, Zaria's champion now, and I love that for her. And then I also find it poetic that her and Sol Ruka are champions at the same time. Sol Ruka is the women's intercontinental champion on Raw, and now Zaria is a champion on NXT. So I just think that's interesting. But the match itself was so fantastic. There was a point where even Tatum Paxley hit a coast to coast on Zaria, a coast to coast drop kick on Zaria. And it was so crazy. And I know this picture's kind of blurry, but that's basically just the impact of what happened there. This match was very athletic and really good. That's another one I recommend that you go back and watch if you have not watched it. But yeah, if this was Tatum Paxley's last NXT match, then she went out with a bang because Miss Girl ate down. But of course, Zaria is the champ. So big ups to Zaria for that accomplishment. Yeah, I just have this here because I just wanted to show how cool it is that Zaria and Soruka are champions at the same time. Zaruka forever. I don't care. Now, moving into what I love from the men on NXT. The match between Mason Rook and Naraku for the number one contendership for the NXT championship was fantastic. I I had heard about Naraku in New Japan, but I had never really seen him like wrestle a full match before. So to see him fight against someone like this, someone like Mason, who sort of equaled him in size and in power, was really cool. I enjoyed this match. Mason Rook is very powerful. And of course, he's big and he's bad and he will body slam your dad. And that energy was on full display in this match. I really enjoyed it here. But Naraku wound up winning and becoming the number one contender, which I felt like was going to happen anyway. But it happened due to the interference of Cam Hendricks and him getting in Mason Rook's face, because they are both very new to NXT. They're both very brash and they're both trying to find their way. But Cam Hendricks is coming out here messing up opportunities for people because he doesn't have the opportunity. And honestly, Cam Hendricks, I feel like my jury is still out on him. Now, I'll still support him because that's a black man in wrestling and he'll always have my support. But I don't know. There's just something about him with me that just isn't fully clicking just yet. But hopefully it'll get better over time. But Naraku winning this was the right choice. Him versus Tony D'Angelo will probably move mountains, and I'm definitely prepared for that. So it was a really good match between him and Mason Rook. And then, of course, Saquon Sugars is back to get inside the head of Dark State. Dion Lennox had a match, and I forgot who he fought. But either way, no, charge it to my head and not to my heart. But Saquon Sugars popped up, and I just started screaming. I was like, "Oh my God, Saquon!" And he's just back to get in everybody's head now. He's just like, "Look, y'all think y'all safe, but y'all ain't." So my boy is out here to get his lick back with the bat and all of the things. So I'm just so thrilled to see him getting in everybody's head because they did not have to do him like that. The way that they just threw him out of the group was just absolutely ridiculous. So he's really like taking out each member of Darkstay one by one. And I'm pretty sure at some point it's going to all come to a head before Great American Bash. So I'm just really excited about this. I love Saquon, and I just hope he just continues to blossom from this point in the feud against Dark State. Because when Saquon is loose, ain't nobody safe. Hello. And then, of course, I loved the NXT, the Mr. NXT pageant between Tristan Angels and Shiloh Hill. The competitions that they were having with the modeling and the talent portion and everything else, like it was definitely giving like Miss America, um, Miss Universe type stuff, except it was with men. And maybe it just made me think about maybe men should have more pageants. Like, why isn't there a male pageant circuit the way that there's a female one? Because the way that I enjoyed watching this little pageant here on NXT, it just kind of makes me think about that. Like, huh. Now, mind you, of course, the female pageant is more glamour attached to it with pretty dresses and crowns and all the things, and people work their entire lives for that, and I love that. But I don't know, male pageants, I feel like that's something that hasn't really been explored before. As long as it's not hurting anybody, I feel like it would be fun. But I enjoyed this pageant. I loved that Tristan Angels thought that because he, was the prim and proper one with all the fabulous hair, that he was just going to, you know woo everyone. But Shallow Hill was being nobody but himself. And I feel like that was a bit more authentic than Tristan Angels and everything he had going on. And of course, fans could go online and vote. And I voted. And before we get to the winner, I just want to talk about how amazing it was seeing Evolve champion Aaron Rourke, Kit Wilson, and comedian Matt Matthews be on the judge panel. If you may or may not watch Evolve on Wednesdays on Tubi, Aaron Rourke is probably one of the best representations of being an openly gay man in wrestling that I've ever seen. Like, he is nobody but himself, and I will never forget one time I was watching a PLE and they showed a segment about him, and he openly talked about as a man watching Lita, and saying that she was his hero, and just watching him be himself as a masculine wrestler but also having feminine tendencies. It was just really beautiful to see in terms of representation. And then of course you have Kit Wilson there, who is a straight male, yes, but has no issue feeding into the feminine side of himself because he openly listens to girly pop and likes to wear pearls and so many things. And then you have Matt Matthews, who got famous, who I found him on TikTok because he lives on a farm, and he would cuss out his chickens all the time and be like, "Get up. It's time to do farm chores." And he would be so irritated. And he would just cuss out all his animals. And then, he parlayed that into a comedian career. And I believe he's from Alabama too. So getting to see all of them together representing, different forms of being a man, during Pride Month of all times, which is a very progressive thing, and it was very refreshing, and it's something that needs to be explored on wrestling television more often. It really does, without turning it into a joke or a punchline or whatever. The only thing I feel like the only person they were missing here was maybe was Anthony Bowens from the Acclaimed in AEW. But either way, this form of representation was just very beautiful and refreshing to see. And Matt Matthews was definitely enjoying, the vibes and the pageants and everything. So it was just great. I loved it. Um, Also, Tristan Angels looks like he could be the lost member of Pretty Deadly. So if Elton Prince comes back and they decide to turn Pretty Deadly into a trio, then Tristan Angels will be the perfect person for it. But Shiloh Hill wound up winning Mr. NXT. I voted for him because I love Shiloh. I've loved him ever since I saw him on LFG. He was really cool. So I appreciate him, and I just love that he won. But then he wound up getting attacked by Tristan Angels afterward. So I guess this is going to lead to a match between the both of them. But either way, congratulations to Shiloh Hill for becoming the official Mr. NXT. Will there be a Mrs. NXT? Who knows? But either way, this was all in good fun and it was cute. Now, when it comes to what I liked from AEW this week, it all involves women. Mercedes had a segment where she was talking about how she felt like the women's division sort of fell after she decided to take her break after losing all of her titles and everything, and how people were getting injured and how there was a lot of failure. And now she's sort of here to sort of heal that energy by being excellent. And so now she's back to perform in the Owen Hart tournament and reclaim and basically hold on to the title that she still has when it comes to winning the Owen Hart last year. She wants to go back to back. And if she does go back to back, then she will have a grand opportunity to face off against Tekla or whoever is the AEW Women's Champion, AEW Women's World Champion at that point in time. And I'm all for it. But if that match happens in London, I'll be so upset about it because a part of me would have loved to have seen Mercedes and gone to that show and watch her win the AEW Women's World Championship. But if it's going to happen in London, like a lot of people are saying it is, then I'll just have to deal. But either way, my goal is back to heal all the mediocrity in her mind in women's wrestling on AEW. And this segment was fantastic. I just love it when she passionately speaks as the GOAT that she is. And it was really great. And another heartwarming part of AEW Dynamite was seeing Maya World, who has been a guest on the Hardy Wrestling podcast. So if you have not watched that interview or listened to that interview before, please go back and do it. We had a great time together. I loved interviewing her. Maya World was also in the tournament, taking the place of Saray, and she had to fight Sky Blue. But before this match happened and before she was scheduled to fight in the tournament, she lost her big brother who introduced her to wrestling. He passed away this week, and by all means, she was saying that Tony Khan was telling her, look, if you need to take some time and take a break, you by all means you can do that. But she felt that it would only be right to continue in the tournament and fight in honor of her brother because he was the one who introduced her to wrestling, and this is a golden opportunity, so I can't let this slip by me. So she went ahead, wrestled, had a great match, and beat Sky Blue in an upset, and now is moving forward in the Women's Owen Hart Cup tournament. And this warmed my heart because, as a person right now myself who is trying to live and operate after a major loss, I empathize and sympathize with her in such a huge way. Um, Sometimes the best thing you can do for the person that you lost is to try to move forward, because I know one thing: when my mom, before she even passed, my mom always said, do not stop your life for me. She said, you have to keep going. You can't just stop everything for me. Even though she knows that I would have, she always said, look, do not stop for me. You have to keep going. You have to keep going. And if that person that you lost was such a huge supporter in everything that you did, you feel like if you stopped doing it or if you just quit, then you would be doing them a disservice. And as I'm continuing to move through my life, I feel like I'm still internalizing the beauty of moving forward in life and the beauty of people and the beauty of everything, and not being so lost in what I have and what I no longer have. So I'm sending my love and my strength to Maya World because I'm living through it myself and I know what it's like, and hers is very fresh. Mine is 2 months fresh, but it's still fresh nonetheless. But either way, I'm sending her my love and my strength because to perform on television after that major of a loss, that takes a lot of inner strength to do. And I hope that she moves forward in the tournament. I know she has to fight Athena, who taught her everything she knows in wrestling, trained her, and all of the above. But I hope that if by some hook or crook she moves forward in the tournament and wins, that would be amazing too. So, Maya World, you are amazing. You always have been and you always will be. I'm sending you and your family so much love and healing during this time. And we are going to press through together because the people that we love in heaven are rooting for us. So, yeah, those are two things I loved from AEW this week. Now, moving into SmackDown, Charlotte Flair wound up moving forward in the Queen of the Ring tournament because out of all the things this woman has accomplished in WWE, she has not been Queen of the Ring yet, which is so interesting to think about. For someone who calls himself the Queen, she's never been Queen of the Ring. And now, in her match against Jade Cargill, Lyra Valkyria, and Sol Ruka, that match was fantastic. It was really good. Here again, I enjoyed this one more than I enjoyed the King of the Ring match that took place later on in the episode. But Charlotte won, and I was definitely okay with that. Then on top of that, when Jade tried to get her baddies to come out and cheat for her, she had allies in the form of Alexa Bliss and I believe Tiffany Stratton to come out and even the odds for her. So that was really good too. So I'm glad Charlotte won and she's moving forward in the tournament. But there is something that I do want to address here again in talking about women's bodies and how people talk about women in wrestling. You buzzards were being absolute buttholes about Jade and her wig falling off during a match. This is wrestling, okay? There have been times where there have been wardrobe malfunctions. There are times where gears snap and fall apart. There have been times where tables don't break and all of these different things. Shit happens in wrestling. And the idea that all of you were calling her wig falling off a botch pissed me all the way off because hair is hair. And whether you're wearing a wig or not, if you're doing something that requires a lot of physical activity, stuff is going to happen. And one of those things that might happen is the fact that your hair might not be secure and it might fall off. But it astounds me the lengths that people will go to try to pick apart Jade Cargill and her abilities in the ring, her personality, and then her looks as well. And then you took it too far by talking about her wig falling off. So what if her wig fell off? I'm pretty sure a part of your necklace or a part of your bracelet would fall apart if you were doing backflips and clotheslines in the ring too. Why don't y'all just shut up and just admit the fact that this confident black woman makes you feel so insecure that you have to go online and talk trash about her wig falling off? She makes y'all feel so insecure that you got to pick her apart and talk all this trash about her because she's so confident in who she is and she's living a good, soft life with her husband and her children and whatnot. And you're being miserable online and probably living a life that isn't a third as cool as hers. She is on TV every week, serving looks, serving us everything that she could possibly give us as a woman who, quite frankly, doesn't have to wrestle but chooses to because she loves it. And y'all get online and then want to talk trash about it, and y'all ain't got shit going on with y'all life. And I hate to even talk like this, but y'all just done brought it out of me. And a lot of y'all that do it are racist. You're racist because you sit up here and try to pick apart black women for what we do with our hair as if y'all are not the reason for why we have to do what we have to do with our hair. And then y'all try to like make fun of us for it. But then in the same token, try to copy it somewhere else and then try to poo poo it off as something else with appropriation or whatnot. Y'all need to shut the fuck up and sit down and leave black women alone and let us do what we're going to do and you stay over there in your little hateful ass corner. Okay? Like, it's just so annoying. The lengths that you guys will go to try to discredit Jade Cargill as an in-ring talent as if you could do half of the stuff or even a third of the stuff that this woman can do. You can't. You literally can't. And it angers me.
Every time y'all find all these stupid reasons to try to pick her apart, and now y'all are picking her apart because her wig came off. So what? Black women wear wigs. We wear wigs, we wear weaves, we do protective styles. Either way, we look better than you. So y'all really need to just shut up. Anyway, let's get that out of the way. Moving on. Kiana James had a moment backstage with Kathy Kelly, who also got into some hot water this week, but I don't want to talk about it. Um, she had an interview with Kathy Kelly, and she talked about how she felt like Julia would not be as successful as she is without her, and how she, secured matches for her, closed contracts and deals for her, and how Julia would be nothing without her. But Julia came up behind her and corrected her and said, "Look, I just needed you to help me with my English and to help me because, you know, I needed you for my contracts. But don't get it twisted. I still am a star, and, now I really don't need you." But then she said, "Now that my English is good, I can finally say what's on my mind." And then she slapped the fire out of her. So I can't wait to see what match takes place between these two women. But I'm so happy that they're both separated, and I'm glad that Julia is now a baby face, and I'm also glad that she doesn't have the braids anymore. Um, on a real tip. But either way, this is going to be interesting. I want to see Kiana James shine more, and I feel like this is going to give an opportunity for her to shine more. So, yeah, this was cool. And I also enjoyed the tag team match. This was a non title match between Paige and Brie Bella going up against Fatal Influences, Fallon Henley, and Lainey Reed. This match was fantastic, especially the chemistry that Fallon Henley and Lainey Reed had. I thought for sure that they could possibly win this match and gain an opportunity for the women's tag team titles. But even in the midst of a lot of shenanigans that were going on with the referee, Paige and Brie Bella wound up getting out the win. But there was something that did intrigue me though. It felt like at one point when Paige had a cover or had the advantage, Brie was distracting the ref. And it makes me wonder, like, is something bad gonna happen between Brie Bella and Paige to where her and Nikki might turn on her and cause like a whole big rift? I don't know. But it felt like at one point Brie was distracting the referee to keep Paige from having the upper hand. It was really awkward looking. But maybe I'm reading too much into it, but at the same time, it was still something interesting that was catching my eye. But either way, this match was really good. Fallon and Lainey could very well be tag team champions at some point because their chemistry is on point. Everything about them as a faction is jumping off on the main roster, and I love that for them coming from NXT. So, yeah, and of course, JC Jane is their big villain, and it's just really cool. So, I'm glad to see them performing well on the main roster, especially Lainey, seeing as she's from Alabama. So, let's go. And then we got a little bit of an image from Blake Monroe writing in her diary and talking about Charlotte Flair. Even though we did see her one time backstage on SmackDown having an interaction with Chelsea Green, we've only seen her have these vignettes. And a part of me wonders, when is she going to make her presence known? Is she going to wrestle? And then there's a weird rumor saying that her entrance isn't going to be the same on SmackDown anymore. And I don't know. I hope they keep it because it's really cool and cute. Um, and I hope they don't change her song either because that song is really awesome and it fits her character to a T. So I can't wait to see what all these diary entries are going to lead to. If she's going to have a feud with Charlotte, if she's going to have a feud with Chelsea, or just a feud with Tiffany, who knows? But either way, it's very intriguing to see what's going to happen with Blake Monroe. I can't wait to see her pop up. And I loved this look that she had where she wasn't on the bed. She was laying on, it looked like a love seat, but she had this red dress on and this big necklace on, and it was just giving old glamour, and it was just so beautiful. And I was like, oh my god, help, I need a dress like this. I need a dress like this and I need to do a photo shoot in it for my birthday. I feel like it would break the internet. But either way, Blake Monroe looked really good and I can't wait to see her on SmackDown actually get into the thick of things with the women's division. It's going to be fun. Now, when it comes to the men, I have to discuss Trick Williams and his interaction with this little boy who dressed up like him in the audience. This was so sweet and heartwarming. Now, of course, with Trick being a big baller shot caller character, it's not many times you get to see him be warm and affectionate with fans. But to see this happen on screen was just so beautiful. You see this little boy with the sunglasses and the fur. It was just really precious, and I was just glad to see that happen. So shout out to that little boy and his parents for putting that together. Such a great costume slash cosplay. And shout out to Trick for having that moment with him because that was just really sweet. He didn't have to acknowledge him, but he did. So that was just really, really sweet stuff to see. But then, of course, Trick locked back in and talked about how him losing his opportunity in the King of the Ring tournament really made him mad and pissed him off. So now he wants to fight whoever wants to, fight him. So that opens the door for Ricky Sayce to come out. But then Carmelo Hayes interrupts him and his entrance, and he walks and just pushes him out the way like, boy, move, this is my time. And I thought that was so funny. Like, I laughed out loud. I was like, oh my god, Mello. But then I was just like, yes, push him out the way though, for real, because this is your moment, this was your title, you go back and get it. But then Ricky Saints was all like, I beat you last week. Mind you, Carmelo doesn't clock T a lot for me. He doesn't clock T enough for me because he could have told Ricky, look, you beat me because you cheated and grabbed my tights. Like, he needs to start clocking T a whole lot more than he actually does. He really had mercy on Ricky because he could have, clocked his T like that and said, look, you only beat me because you cheated. But now, of course, Trick said, look, if y'all want to fight each other to see who's going to face me for the U.S. title, then y'all can do that and have that blow off. So next week, we're going to have a number one contenders match between Carmelo Hayes and Ricky Saints. And I hope to God Carmelo Hayes wins because I need the Hayes administration to make its um, return. I need to be his press secretary again, and because it was one of the funnest jobs I ever had, and I want to do it some more. Okay, so let's bring back the Hayes administration and make him U.S. champion again, and have like a whole beef between him and Trick one more time. Let's do it. Let's do it. Also, shout out to Black Wrestling. They're getting ready to release their BRP 50 that they release every Juneteenth. And they actually had Trick Williams on the cover of the new school. And he actually said he was the leader of the new school on the microphone Friday. And I was just like, oh my God, does he know? He probably does now. So shout out to Black Wrestling. I love y'all. Y'all are my mentors in the game. And I will always support the BRP 50, and I can't wait to see how y'all roll it out this year. It's going to be great. Now, this match I didn't necessarily like in terms of the King of the Ring tournament between LA Knight, Jay Uso, Royce Keys, and Finn Balor. But one thing I did love was watching LA Knight run it back with his entrance in front of Jay Uso. I was hollering because you know how many times we've had to sit and watch Jay Uso run it back and do the yeet dance. Now, mind you, I be yeeting too, so I'm not gonna pretend. It's fun when Jay Uso runs it back. But the idea of another wrestler saying, "Hey, y'all want me to run back my entrance?" and everybody was like, "Yeah!" and then he did it, but then Jay snatched him off of the ropes and said, "Hey, you ain't finna steal my flow." But yeah, it was just really funny. LA Knight deserves the world. He makes me laugh all of the time. He is so hilarious. Um, and Jay Uso did win this match, and I just had to use this picture because it was so cute to see him in his gold grill matching up with the gold and diamonds and the king crown. I was like, yo, that's crazy work. Um, And that's really culturally creative. I like that. I know a lot of people have feelings about Jay Uso being moving forward in the tournament, but for some reason I don't hate it. And I think I don't hate it because when he was world heavyweight champion the first time, I know I was enjoying it, but a lot of people weren't and decided to turn on him for whatever reason. And they just didn't let it be fun anymore. And it just made me upset. So if he actually won King of the Ring, I wouldn't be mad. There's three people who I wouldn't be upset if they won King of the Ring. That's Jay Uso, Obafemi, and Javon Evans. Those are my big three right there. If either one of those three win King of the Ring, I'll be happy about it. I know that's probably the unpopular thing to say, but I don't care. I myself and myself wants Jay Uso to possibly win. Um, I wouldn't be angry at it if it happened that way. So that this is a cool visual. It's giving crash out, but royalty crash out. I love it. So yeah, and I think the last part. Well, no, not the last part. This is the next to last part. Um, Tamatonga having this run in with Finn, who is new to the SmackDown roster, was really cool from a if you know you know standpoint because of course of their history with the Bullet Club and New Japan and stuff like that. But I low-key feel like they keep using these moments to try to pop a certain demographic of wrestling fan that knows about this, but they're not letting it lead to something for Tamatonga in the end. And it's frustrating me because we saw Tamatonga have a whole little back and forth with Shinsuke and their past and stuff, with Shinsuke challenging him, asking him, when are you going to be your own man again like you used to be? And then they had their little beef, and then he wound up attacking and siding with the MFTs and attacking Shinsuke with them. And we haven't seen Shinsuke since then. And then now you have him have this run in with Finn, and then what is he going to do? Is he going to still be with the MFTs after that, or is he going to develop further? Because it could be argued that he could have developed when he was with Shinsuke and broke off from Solo and them, but he didn't. So what good is it to have these segments where he's running in with these people from his past in New Japan if he's only going to stay the same? Like, that's the part that really bothers me about this. Like, I enjoyed it for what it gave Friday, but at the same time, if it's not going to lead to Tama Tonga actually standing on his own 2 feet and being his own solo star, then what's the point of it? What's the point? I don't know. But either way, I did enjoy this, and I do like the fact that Finn is back on SmackDown, even though he's back there with the ops in terms of Rhea Ripley and Damian Priest. But and R-Truth. But either way, it this was great. I enjoyed this from a wrestling nerd perspective, but I still want more for Tama Tonga, for real. But baby, this segment here with Cody Rhodes and Sami Zayn, I almost wish that Gunther wasn't the one challenging Cody Rhodes for the title and that it was just Sammy, because the way that I barely care about Gunther acting like he's bigger than the program, it's like I really don't care about Gunther in this feud, but I care about Sami Zayn beefing with Cody because Sami Zayn has been out here parading himself about like the last real good guy or whatnot, when deep down inside he's being very passive aggressive and bitch made about not being the champion. And this whole thing starts because Sammy's like, look, Cody, I want to talk to you man to man. And so, yeah, Cody comes out there, and of course, he's the champion, so he's going to do his whoa stuff, and everything else. And then he gets in the ring, and he does the thing that he always does. He says, Providence, Rhode Island, one of my favorite places. What do you want to talk about? He does that every week. If you watch wrestling every week, Cody Rhodes does that. Tell me why. This is another rant I'm going to go on, so be prepared. Tell me why Sami Zayn gets on the microphone and tells Cody Rhodes, why don't you just stop all that? Why don't you just stop being the champion and actually just be Cody and just talk to me? And that was the first level of being pissed off at Sami Zayn that I reached while watching this, because how is it that you're going to expect Cody Rhodes to be out in a public forum and not be who he is to the public. Cody Rhodes wouldn't be the Cody Rhodes that we know and love if he didn't say, "What do you want to talk about?" And he was just being a hater. He was giving hater energy all around from the jump. And it was just pissing me off. Why does he have to stop being himself just because you don't like it or because it makes you insecure? I keep bringing this up. And so Cody tries to, talk to him and say, we're two guys who shouldn't be here because when I won the championship, you were standing out here with me and all of us out there with me at WrestleMania 40 and all the stuff. But then Sammy interrupted him and said, look, I wasn't just some guy. I was the first guy out there. And that's another level in which he pissed me off because I'm just like Sami Zayn. He didn't say you were just some guy that was out there. And he didn't say that, and he didn't just relegate you to just being some guy. You did that. You see how all of the insecurities that he's having, he keeps projecting onto Cody as if everything is his fault. It's annoying. Then on top of that, if you really want to keep it a buck and get technical, John Cena was the one who was out there first because he fought by Cody's side in the Bloodline Rules match, and he was out there first before Sammy came out there. But I guess we're just gonna sweep that under the rug, right? Okay. Moving on. Cody then proceeds to talk. Cody then proceeds to try to like get back on his good side or whatever, but then Sammy talks about how all of those guys that came out there with him, are they your friends now? I'm still your friend, but are all of those guys your friend? And when I look back at the picture from WrestleMania 40, because you can literally find it anywhere, you had Jay Uso in the ring, you had LA Knight in the ring, Randy Orton, John Cena, and Kevin Owens that were in the ring celebrating with him. And yes, it can be argued that a good portion of those guys are not Cody's friends anymore because they turned on him for the championship and all of the above. But I think the distinct difference, there is one distinct difference between all of those guys and Sami Zayn. And that's the fact that at least when they wanted the championship, they went after it and came after him with a clear mind. Even though it was aggressive and it was mean, they weren't trying to pretend about it and dance around it. Sammy is trying to pretend about it and dance around it in a way that's just irritating to everybody, including myself. And it's just frustrating. And then he was talking about, oh, well, I'm still a good guy and I'm still your friend, Cody. Those guys aren't your friend and all of this stuff. And I'm just like, bruh, you are not his friend. You're not his friend because if you were really his friend, you would just be happy for him. And he kept saying, I'm happy for you, Cody. I'm happy for you. He sounded like Joan from that episode of Girlfriends that I keep bringing up in random times, but it bears to be mentioned. He kept sounding like Joan from Girlfriends when he kept saying, oh, when she was like, I'm happy for Tony. I'm happy that Tony's getting married. I'm excited about it. When deep down inside, you really aren't. You are not happy for Cody. Because if you were, you wouldn't be acting as passive aggressive as you are. And then Cody said, look, do you want me to apologize? Look, I'm sorry that I'm champion and I'm sorry that I'm great and I'm sorry about this because that means as long as I'm champion, you never will be. And I was like, oh. And I was like, tell it and clock it to him. But Sammy got pissed off and slapped him in his face and then tried to apologize for it. And I'm just like, sir, if you slap me and then try to hold me and try to touch me and be like, oh, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. No, 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 you're not sorry. You meant every bit of that. That was a wind up. You wound up and slapped him and you committed a flagrant foul because if it's one thing that the NBA finals has taught me is what a flagrant foul is. And he gave him a flagrant foul by slapping him in the face. But then Cody slapped him back and he said, "Look, are we good now? Are we good?" But then Sammy wanted to be mad and it act like he wanted to get a chair and attack him, all to hop out of the ring or whatever. And I'm just like, Sammy, you are so bitch made. You are so bitch made. Because my thing is, if you want a chance at the or an opportunity at the WWE Championship, all you had to do was ask. You didn't have to be out here and act like, oh well, I'm just a good friend of him and blah 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 blah. I was just like, bro, no. You could still be a friend and go after things that you want for success. But he's not being a good friend at all. He just kept pissing me off about it. And I was just like, Sammy, go to hell, bro. I want I want this match to be Cody versus Sammy so bad, and to just leave Gunther out of it. Just push Gunther to the back of it, cuz he just does not need to be here. This match needs to just be Sammy versus Cody, because Sammy has this huge chip on his shoulder because he feels like he should have been world heavyweight champion by now after being with the company for 10 plus years, and he hasn't done it. And he's mad that Cody has done it in a less amount of time than he has. That's really what it is. And I wish he would just stop pretending. But I guess, all of the pretending is over now. So this segment was fantastic. It was fire. And it fired me up. It got me angry on behalf of Cody because, here again, why should I have to apologize for my excellence just because you ain't done nothing with your life? I'm not finna, I'm just not finna do it. I'm not finna do it. If there is nothing that you learn from this podcast, if there is nothing else that you learn from this podcast, please take this lesson. Do not let anybody feel like, do not let anybody make you feel like you got to apologize for your success. If you are being clear minded and positive about it and you ain't hurting nobody to earn your success, then don't let nobody make you feel bad about it. Don't let nobody make you feel like you have to apologize for it, because if when they make you feel like that, it's only because they feel like they ain't doing enough. And that only means that they need to step their game up. It's a them problem and it's not a you problem. And it's just coalescing, and it just keeps popping up. And it's a lesson that needs to be relearned and retaught so many times. And it's amazing that it's happening in wrestling the way that it is. But either way, that's yeah, that's what I got from that whole segment. I cannot wait to see what happens, because of course Sami Zayn is going to be the special guest referee for the rematch between Cody and Gunther next week and blah. But we all know that this match should be Sami Zayn versus Cody Rhodes, and that's just the truth of it. But either way, that's all of what I liked in wrestling this week. Of course, we've reached the end of our time together. So, of course, no, you guys can find and follow me, your girl Stephanie Hardy, on Instagram and Twitter at Queen Steph Hardy. You can follow the show, The Hardy Wrestling Podcast, on Instagram at Hardy Wrestling Podcast, and on Twitter at Hardy Wrestle Pod. You can listen to the show anywhere you listen to audio stuff. That's Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Podcasts, and everywhere else audio based. You can also watch it on YouTube. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. And of course, anytime you see me sharing clips on Facebook, or just anywhere else, you can interact with it there as well. And also, you can repost it on TikTok as well if you like it. You can follow me on TikTok at Stephanie underscore Hardy, all lowercase, and just continue to support the vibe, and support the show as it continues to grow. So, yeah, this has been the Hardy Wrestling Podcast with your girl, Stephanie Hardy. Bianca will be back soon. It's just, its scheduling has just been kind of weird and rough with life and everything, but we're going to try and get everything in the band back together. Um, so continue to just support black female voices in wrestling, and just supporting people in wrestling in general, and not being toxic to these wrestlers, because they are people. And just, be safe and have a good weekend, and just be the light of the world and not the darkness. So this has been the Hardy Wrestling Podcast with your girl Stephanie Hardy, and until next time. Lord have mercy. Until either way, y'all get it. Until next time, bye, y'all. Oh man.